You live by the Jameis. Unfortunately, you died by the Jameis. Jameis Winston, I think, almost got 500 yards or got over 500 yards. Correct me if I'm wrong. How much did he get? 497. He almost had 500 passing yards in this game. And he threw the ball 58 times. And I think this is what happens when Jameis Winston has to throw the ball 58 times. He's going to get plays. He's going to find plays because Jameis consistently fights to find plays. The issue with it is that Jameis is also going to throw interceptions because I say this all the time. The misconception with Jameis is that people think he's an erratic decision maker. He's not. His decisions usually make some semblance of sense. It's just he doesn't have the arm talent to make the decisions that he wants to make at times, right? Like he's not consistently accurate enough, which leads to him being a little off and throwing interceptions. So to me, that is a result of we had to throw the ball 58 times. The reason the Browns had to throw the ball 58 times is because the Browns could not run the ball well. Jerome Ford was the lead rusher today. 9 carries, 41 yards. He averaged 4.6 yards per carry. Everybody else was under 3. Nick Chubb, 9 carries, 21 yards. And our offensive line didn't get good push. My big thing going forward, right? Because I'm not opposed to continuing the Jameis Winston experience. But understand, as long as we're in a situation where we can't run the ball, we're going to get high interception Jameis Winston. The 1 year you didn't get high interception Jameis Winston was the 1 year he was in with the Saints and he had Alvin Kamara in his prime. He didn't throw that many interceptions back then because he had a run game to rely on. So you're not asking Jameis Winston to throw the ball 58 times. If you ask Jameis Winston to throw the ball 58 times, I promise you, look at me. This is Kevin Hart. I promise you, boo-boo. I promise you, he's going to throw a couple of interceptions. What we saw from Jameis is everything good and bad of asking Jameis Winston to throw the ball 58 times. I don't think the problem is Jameis. I don't think the problem is the wide receivers or the offensive coordinator or Kevin Stefanski. The problem is right now we don't have a rushing game to rely on. So we have to throw the ball 58 times because I'm going to tell you this right now. Yeah, that was the right move. Like that was the only thing keeping the Browns competitive in this game was their ability to throw the ball. So for me, looking into this team, when we're talking about what they're going to do for next year, because let's face it, even if they would have won, they're a 4-win team in December. They're like the playoffs are a long shot. They were a long shot even if you won. You play the Steelers in Pittsburgh and then you play the Chiefs. That would have been a hard gauntlet to get out of, right? We'll see how they do. But going forward, what this team needs to do, if they want to survive with Jameis Winston, whether it's Sam Darnold, whoever it is that you want to survive with at quarterback, right? That's not Deshaun Watson. If you want to survive there, you have to invest in this rushing game this offseason, right? This is a great running back class. Get some running backs. We got to reevaluate our offensive line talent. We were a non-starter moving the ball with the run game. We couldn't get the push we wanted. We couldn't get the blocking that we needed. That is a big problem with this team. We cannot run the ball. So we're relying on Jameis to throw the ball 58 times. And Jameis, he might be solid for you. He might be really good for you if you can keep him under 35 pass attempts because that keeps a lot of the craziness away. But once you go to 58, you begging for something like this to happen, right? Like you are using too much Jameis Winston in your formula at that point. It's going to be too spicy. So that to me is the main takeaway for the offense, right? We could talk about they need more wide receivers. We could talk about they need more pass blocking, and they do. Or what they need to do at quarterback. I think Jameis is fine as long as you put a limiter on him. But when you don't have a run game, you don't have a limiter on him. Jerry Jeudy, 9 receptions, 235 yards. I think he broke the record. Somebody in chat tell me if he broke the record. It feels like he broke the record. Jerry Jeudy balled today. Like, let me tell you, that 235, like, yeah, he had a couple of big plays in there, but a lot of that shit was chunks. chunks on chunks on chunks. He was eating these corners up. Absolutely eating these corners up all the way to the end of the game. And then shout out to Jerry Jeudy, ran down a pick six. If Jerry Jeudy played like that every day, he'd be the best player in that draft class, and Justin Jefferson is in that class. Like this is one of them games that people are going to be like, man, you capable of it, right, for the rest of the year. Lost in all of this, Elijah Moore had 111 yards. Now, he made the mistake of not touching down the guy on the pick six. I'm just going to tell you this right now. Yeah, if he would have touched him down, maybe the game gets extended a little bit, right? Because the Browns have to get a stop there. But we're going to talk about the defense in a minute. The defense didn't provide an argument sound enough to me for me to be upset that we didn't get that stop opportunity, right? Like, I don't have much faith that the defense would have got that stop. So me personally, I'm not too upset about that faux pas at the end of the game. The one guy who does have a lot to answer for is David Njoku. Now, the stat sheet looks fine. 9 receptions, 52 yards. It's not a terrible night. He had 17 targets and a lot of drops in this one. David's got to figure it out, right? I don't know what's going on with him. This is looking like year 2 David Njoku all over again, right? But yeah, like, I don't think the issue is that we don't have the talent at wide receiver. We're missing Cedric Tillman, who's been one of our best wide receivers all year. And the talent is there. The talent is there to have a successful pass game. Jameis Winston is a good enough quarterback that for a couple of years you can get by with him at quarterback, and he's going to provide you highs and lows. But as long as you keep him under 35, 40 pass attempts, I think he will be workable. Like, he won't throw as many interceptions to keep you out of it. This is what the Browns need to build in the offseason for this offense. The running game needs to get better, right? You need better running backs. You need better interior offensive line players. This running game needs an overhaul, right? If Wyatt Teller and Ethan Posick and Joe Bitonio can't get it done anymore, then you just got to go ahead and move on and get guys in there who can push the pile, who can move the ball off the line of scrimmage, and who can open up lanes in the run game. Because you don't have to have the greatest run game in the world, but you absolutely have to have one. This game had so many drives. How many possessions did the Browns have in this game? Let me look it up real quick. The Browns had 15 drives in this game. None of them were before halftime or at the end of the game. Browns had 15 drives in this game. They ran the ball 23 times, which is a good amount. 77 yards, 3.3 a carry. They couldn't get over 100 yards. It's not like Denver ran the ball great either. They went 26 for 106, but they had a healthy run game. They averaged 4.1 a carry. The Browns were at 3.3. It's not serviceable. That's not workable. You need to be at 4 at least for your run game to be healthy. Our run game's not healthy. I think part of it's the running backs. I think part of it is the offensive line. You got to get help. You got to figure out what it is that you need on that offensive line, how you can get a grader on there. You need a road grader. We don't got any road graders on that offensive line. Number one priority for me, build out that offensive line, get some run blockers in there. And then get a running back too, because I think this team needs one. Jerome Ford's just too light to be a running back number 2. I don't know what he's listed at, but he's certainly like close to under 200 pounds. But that's my take on the offense here. Yeah, Jameis threw 3 interceptions. We could be upset at Jameis for throwing 3 interceptions, but I'm going to be real with you. You throw the ball 58 times with Jameis Winston, you're going to get 3 interceptions. Like, that's just rule of law. That's just Winston's law right there, okay? Like, straight up. Yeah, but, you know, Winston, he almost doubled Bo Nix. Like, he put up some crazy numbers in this one. Let's talk about the defense in this one, man. Because I thought the defense at times held up, but the defense at times was horribly disappointing. I think this defense misses JOK severely, man. And Devin Bush has been playing well in his absence. I think Jordan Hicks has been playing well, and Mahmoud Diabate has. But JOK does something really critical for them when it comes to stopping the run. And that is, he's really good at snatching those delayed handoffs, right? Like, he has a good read for those delayed handoffs, and that means that those delayed handoffs don't kill you as much as they do, or they did in this game. Like, I don't think Jaleel McLaughlin gets loose in this game if JOK is healthy. So some of this is JOK is not there. We need JOK back. He's a very critical player to what the Browns want to do. Also, in the last couple of drives in this game, now to be fair, the defense did hold up and force a field goal, but the last drive, they were out Grant Delpit, they were out Denzel Ward. That's a tough burden to carry, especially on a night where Martin Emerson isn't playing well. Greg Newsome actually played very well today, but Martin Emerson didn't play well. I thought Ronnie Hickman did play well. And then I felt on the line of scrimmage, we had some mixed nights. Miles has had better days. I thought Isaiah McGuire played an excellent game. Shelby Harris was doing pretty good there too, and I thought Dalvin Tomlinson was fine. I just think you're missing the depth that you have in the linebacker position when you have somebody like JOK in, when you have Grant Delpit in, especially at the end of that game, especially how important he is with run defense. I think all of those things kind of came back to hurt you. But we got to figure out why this defense is down this year so much so from what they were last year. Is it because Jim Schwartz wasn't actually that good? I don't tend to believe that. Jim Schwartz has been a good defensive coordinator at enough stops to where I know he's good at his job. I know these players are good at their job, because I've seen them be good with multiple defensive coordinators. Even 2022 under Joe Woods, I don't think, no. 2022 under Joe Woods, that year was a complete disaster. 2021 under Joe Woods was actually pretty good from this defense. 2022 was a disaster. But I've seen this defense, the players on here play well. I think it's more of an issue of figuring out what they want to do, or maybe it's just this Browns defense is simply not at their best when they're trying to add more complications to it. Like, maybe we just don't have a defense that can be complicated. Maybe there's a level of simplification that we just always need to stay under, because it seems like the year we try to build on something, right? Because 2021, Joe Woods' defense was fine. It was actually pretty good. What sold that team that year was the offense. 2022, they tried to build on in the offseason. It turned into a complete disaster. This year, last year, the defense was really good. This year, they try to add to it, and, it starts to slow down. I think we got a lot of instinctual players. I think we got a lot of great man-to-man players, and I think we just need to lean into that strength and deal with the consequences that comes with. Because it seems like every time we try to add extra layers to this defense, we end up doing stuff that makes it progressively worse as the year goes on, and maybe simpler is just better for the grouping of personnel that you have here for the Cleveland Browns. That's the only thing I can really take away from that. My other takeaway here is about Kevin Stefanski, right? Because I said last week, I don't really, given how bad the quarterback play was at the beginning of the season, I think we can admit it now. I think the last person has gotten off of Watson Island here, right? Jameis Winston thrown for 500 yards with this offense when Deshaun couldn't get over 200 yards. Kind of just tells you what the problem was when Deshaun was out there. It was Deshaun, right? Jameis is doing this with Jermaine Ifedi out of position playing left tackle and no Cedric Tillman, like down multiple receivers, and especially if you compare it to what Watson had, right? So I'm pretty sure nobody has to make that argument anymore, that obviously the passing woes at the beginning of the season had nothing to do, less to do about the coach and the offensive coordinator, and a lot more to do with the dude playing quarterback. Because you switch out Jameis Winston, yeah, he throws 3 interceptions, but still significantly more productive than Deshaun Watson ever had been. So to me, when I look at this game and when I look at this effort overall, I think this is what I don't want to see this team lose, but I said before the Steeler game, I just want to see this team fight, right? Because so much at the beginning of the season, we just didn't see this team fight. And that bugged me about this team. This game, it doesn't bug me as much as some of the other games that the Browns have lost. Because simply put, the Browns went all on the Jameis Winston sword. And it got them very far. It got them close in this game. They almost upset the Denver Broncos. But hey, At the end of the day, not having a running game, having to lean on Jameis Winston this much, you died on that sword. And it is what it is. I can go out. I can live with the team fighting with pride and losing because they just didn't have more than the other team. That's ball. That's sports. What I don't like is when it feels like the team didn't even try to fight. And that's what I wanted to see from this team after the bye week, after the Saints game, right? When people were questioning Kevin's job. And I think that's why people were questioning Kevin's job, is because it felt like that wasn't there for this team. And that is the main thing that I think when I watch this game. I'm like, okay, the fight is still there from these guys. They still care about something, right? They're clearly out the playoff race. We know what it is. Some people could argue that it's better for the Browns not to win a game like this, right? Given where they are. But what you do want to see is that there is a fight, that they're just not going to roll over for the rest of the season and be embarrassing, right? They're going to put forth a strong effort every week. Now, 2 national TV games is easy to do when you're on national TV, right? We'll see how they start playing once the spotlight gets off of them, but it's not like the spotlight's going to go away anytime soon, right? You play the Bengals, well, not the Bengals, you play the Steelers, then you play the Chiefs. So eyes are going to be on both those games. And then you go back and you play the Bengals, and I think you play the Ravens, and I think you play the Dolphins as well on Sunday Night Football, if that still is a Sunday Night Football game. So love that the effort for this game from top to bottom, from start to finish, significantly better than the efforts that we had seen at the beginning of this season, because that was the most concerning thing for me, right? I understand that the win-loss record is going to be what it is because you spent 8 weeks pushing out a dud of a quarterback because you spent $230 million on him, and you had to be sure before you pulled the plug that that dude was truly a dud. Now that we're sure that that dude's truly a dud, because look at the difference in production, we can now move on from there. And if we're moving on from there and we're taking some of what we saw from this game and what we've seen from the Jameis games going forward, I would say the one thing that stands out to me is that Jameis Winston has had to throw the ball entirely too much in almost every game he's played in. And that's because we just don't have a run game. So this offseason, what this game tells me, we really need to focus in on building that run game.